I never planned on becoming the tech industry's most talked about CEO. But then again, I never planned on my father-in-law trying to destroy everything I built. Funny how life works out sometimes. My name is Alex Chen, and this is the story of how I turned a family's betrayal into Silicon Valley's biggest power shift of the decade. Another startup failure, Alex? Richard Morrison's voice carried across his mansion's dining room, dripping with the same condescension I'd endured for the past 5 years. How many is that now? 3? 4? I carefully set down my fork, feeling my wife Caroline's hand squeeze my knee under the table. Her silent way of telling me to stay calm. The monthly family dinner at the Morrison mansion had become an exercise in humility or humiliation, depending on how you looked at it. Just pivoting the business model, Richard, I replied, maintaining eye contact with my father-in-law, the CEO of Morrison Technologies, Silicon Valley's darling enterprise software company. Sometimes you need to adapt to find the right market fit. He laughed, cutting into his perfectly cooked Wagyu steak. Adapt? Is that what we're calling bankruptcy these days? His eyes flickered to Caroline. Sweetheart, when are you going to convince your husband to accept my offer? A stable position at Morrison Tech would be better than watching him waste your inheritance on these experiments. Caroline's grip tightened on my knee. She knew what was coming. We'd rehearsed this moment for months. Actually, Dad, she started, but Richard waved her off. The tech industry isn't for dreamers, son, he continued, pointing his fork at me. It's for people who understand real business. Look at Morrison Tech. 30 years of steady growth, contracts with every major corporation in America, and a stock price that makes shareholders weep with joy. He smirked. What's your little startup's valuation again? 50,000. 100? I could feel the weight of the thumb drive in my jacket pocket containing the code that would change everything. The same code Richard's corporate espionage team had been trying to steal for the past year. You're right, Richard, I said, dabbing my mouth with a napkin. Maybe I should stick to what I know. Small dreams, small ambitions. I turned to Caroline. Honey, shall we head home? I have an early meeting tomorrow. Richard's wife, Margaret, ever the perfect hostess, tried to salvage the tension. But we haven't had dessert. I made your favorite chocolate souffle, Alex. Another time, Mom, Caroline said, standing. Alex really does have an important meeting. As we walked to the door, Richard called out, That offer for a junior developer position is still open, Alex. 50,000 a year, full benefits. Better than burning through my daughter's trust fund. I helped Caroline with her coat, counting the hours until tomorrow's board meeting. Thank you, Richard. I'll keep that in mind. The drive home was quiet until we cleared the gates of Richard's estate. Then Caroline burst out laughing. Did you see his face when you agreed with him? He didn't know what to do. I allowed myself a small smile, thinking about the email I'd received just hours before dinner. Your father's always been good at seeing exactly what he expects to see. How much longer? Caroline asked, her voice softening. She'd been my partner in this long game, sacrificing as much as I had. Tomorrow morning. The board meeting's at 9. I reached over and squeezed her hand. You sure you're okay with this? He's still your father. Caroline's face hardened. He stopped being my father the day he tried to steal your work and destroy your dream. He's just another corrupt CEO who needs to learn a lesson. I thought back to that day, 18 months ago, when we discovered Richard's plan. The corporate espionage, the planted spies, the attempted hostile takeover of my previous startup. All because he'd gotten a hint of what I was really building. While Richard thought I was failing at creating yet another social media app or delivery service platform, I've been developing something revolutionary, quantum encryption algorithms that could make blockchain technology obsolete, the holy grail of digital security. When his spies couldn't steal it, he tried to force me into bankruptcy, calling in favors to block investor meetings and spread rumors about my company's stability. What he didn't know was that every move he made was part of my plan. Back at our modest apartment, the one Richard loved to mock as proof of my failure, I went straight to my home office. The wall covered in seemingly random sticky notes was actually a timeline of Richard's attempts to destroy me, each one documented, dated, and ready to be revealed. Want some tea? Caroline called from the kitchen. No time, I replied, booting up my secure laptop. Need to make sure everything's in place for tomorrow. The quantum encryption algorithm was my life's work. But it wasn't just about the technology. Inside its millions of lines of code lay another innovation, a hidden protocol that could trace and expose every attempt to breach it. Like digital breadcrumbs, it had been tracking Richard's corporate espionage team for months, documenting every failed attempt to steal my work. My phone buzzed, a message from Maya, my chief technology officer and the only other person who knew the full plan. Morrison Tech's team made another attempt to breach our servers. They took the bait, all logged and traced back to Richard's private terminal. Perfect, the final piece was in place. I walked to the kitchen, where Caroline was sipping her tea and scrolling through her phone. "What time should I be there tomorrow?" she asked without looking up. 9:30, I said, leaning against the counter. "The board meeting starts at 9, but you'll want to be there for the second act." She looked up, her eyes meeting mine. "Think you'll try to deny it?" I shook my head. The evidence is undeniable. Every breach attempt, every planted spy, every backdoor deal to block our funding. All traced back to his personal authorization. And the company? The real company? I smiled, thinking of the offshore accounts and shell corporations we used to hide our true operations. While Richard thought I was struggling with a failing startup, I built a technological fortress right under his nose. Ready to go public the moment Richard is exposed. The investors are lined up, the patents are secured, and the contracts are ready to sign. I pulled out my phone, showing her the email I'd received during dinner. Google just confirmed. They want first rights to license the technology. Caroline stood, wrapping her arms around me. I wish Mom was here to see this. She always said Dad's ego would be his downfall. Margaret Morrison had passed away 2 years ago, never recovering from the accidental fall that happened right after she threatened to expose Richard's illegal business practices. The official investigation ruled it an accident, but Caroline and I knew better. It was one more crime we'd uncovered, one more piece of evidence ready to be revealed. "Get some sleep," I said, kissing her forehead. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." In bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about the path that had led here. Richard Morrison had spent 30 years building his empire through theft, intimidation, and corruption. Tomorrow, it would take 30 minutes to bring it all crashing down. My phone buzzed one last time. Another message from Maya: "Systems ready. Quantum encryption holding strong. Time to show them what real innovation looks like." I smiled in the darkness. Richard always said the tech industry wasn't for dreamers. Tomorrow you'd learn that sometimes the biggest dreams are the ones you never see coming. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought about his offer of a junior developer position. $50,000 a year to give up my dreams. By this time tomorrow, I'd be worth more than his entire company. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destruction. It's about innovation. And I was about to innovate Richard Morrison right out of the industry he thought he owned. The real question was, would he see it coming before it was too late? The Morrison Technologies boardroom hadn't changed since I'd last seen it 2 years ago. Same mahogany table, same leather chairs, same floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Silicon Valley. But this time, I wasn't here as Richard Morrison's struggling son-in-law. I was here as his replacement. Mr. Chen, Richard's executive assistant Sarah, greeted me with surprise. "The board meeting doesn't start for another hour." I smiled, setting my laptop on the table. "I know, but I'm actually supposed to be here. Check the agenda." She frowned, tapping her tablet. Her eyes widened slightly. I see. My apologies. Can I get you anything?" "Just water, thanks, and Sarah." She turned back. "You might want to start updating your resume after today. Good assistants are hard to find, and I'm going to be hiring." At exactly 8:59 a.m., the board members began filing in. I recognized them all from Richard's countless dinner parties, the same power players he'd bragged about having in his pocket. Their confused glances at my presence were met with my calm smile. Richard entered last, stopping short when he saw me. "Alex? What are you doing here? This is a closed board meeting." "Actually, Richard, I'm the reason for this meeting." I stood straightening my suit jacket. "Please, everyone, take your seats. We have a lot to cover." "Now see here," Richard started, his face reddening, but board chairman William Hayes cut him off. "Mr. Chen is correct, Richard. He requested this emergency meeting yesterday with some concerning evidence about Morrison Technologies' business practices." Richard's face shifted from confusion to rage to fear in seconds. "Whatever he's told you, It's lies. This is personal. He's angry because I wouldn't give him a senior position. Interesting perspective, I said, connecting my laptop to the room's display system. Let's talk about positions, shall we? Specifically, the position your corporate espionage team has been in for the past 18 months, trying to steal my quantum encryption technology. The room went silent. On a screen, lines of code appeared alongside surveillance footage, email transcripts, and bank transfers. What you're seeing, I continued, is documented evidence of over 200 attempts to breach my company's security systems, all traced back to Morrison Technologies, more specifically to Richard's private terminal. This is absurd, Richard sputtered, but his face had gone pale. Is it? I clicked to the next slide. Here's an email from you to James Foster, your head of security, authorizing a Black Ops team to, quote, acquire Chen's encryption by any means necessary. The timestamp matches a break-in at my previous office where my servers were stolen. Board member Patricia Chen leaned forward. Richard, is this true? Of course not. He's fabricating. The evidence is authenticated. William Hayes interrupted. We had independent forensics verify everything last night, including, he paused, looking at his notes, the evidence regarding Margaret Morrison's death. Richard went completely still. In the silence, the boardroom door opened and Caroline walked in. Hello, Dad, she said quietly. Time to tell the truth. Caroline, Richard whispered. What are you doing? Showing them who you really are. She turned to the board. 2 years ago, my mother discovered files proving my father had stolen most of Morrison Tech's core technology from smaller companies. When she threatened to expose him, she had her accident. These are lies, Richard shouted, standing. She's turned my own daughter against me. The police have reopened the investigation. I said calmly. Your private emails to the hitman were quite detailed, Richard. Did you really think quantum encryption wouldn't be able to recover deleted communications? William Hayes stood. Richard Morrison, in light of this evidence, the board is calling for an immediate vote of no confidence. Additionally, federal agents are waiting outside to discuss charges of corporate espionage, fraud, and he glanced at Caroline, murder. You can't do this, Richard said, but his voice had lost its power. I built this company. No, I corrected him. You stole this company, piece by piece. And now it's time for some corporate restructuring. I clicked to the final slide, revealing the true nature of my failing startup. Quantum Shield Technologies, valued at $4.2 billion after its secret IPO filing the previous night. My company owns the patents that will make Morrison Tech's entire security infrastructure obsolete, but I'm willing to offer a merger. I smiled. The terms are simple. Morrison Technologies becomes a subsidiary of Quantum Shield. All current employees keep their jobs except the executive team. And you, Richard, step down immediately. The board's vote was unanimous. As federal agents led Richard away in handcuffs, he turned to Caroline one last time. I'm your father, he pleaded. You stopped being my father the day you killed Mom, she replied. Consider this your retirement package. The next few weeks were a blur of press conferences, merger meetings, and corporate restructuring. Quantum Shield's stock price tripled after the announcement of our revolutionary encryption technology. Morrison Technologies employees, freed from Richard's toxic leadership, embraced the changes with enthusiasm. 1 month after the takeover, I sat in my new office, Richard's old office, reviewing acquisition offers from tech giants. Caroline entered, holding a newspaper. Have you seen this? She asked, tossing it on my desk. The headline read, Tech's New Power Couple, How Alex and Caroline Chen Revolutionized Silicon Valley. I smiled. Your father would hate that headline. Good. She perched on my desk. The detective called. They found more evidence in Mom's case. He's looking at life in prison. I took her hand. You okay? She squeezed back. Better than okay. Mom always said the truth would come out eventually. She'd be proud of what we did. Not just what we did, I corrected. What we're going to do. Quantum Shield isn't just about encryption. It's about changing how the tech industry operates. No more stolen innovations, no more buried crimes. My phone buzzed. Maya was requesting approval for our next project. The quantum encryption had been just the beginning. We were about to revolutionize not just security, but the entire concept of digital trust. Remember what he said at that last dinner? Caroline mused. The tech industry isn't for dreamers. I laughed, looking out over Silicon Valley from my office window. Maybe he was right. It's not for dreamers, it's for revolutionaries. The sun was setting over the valley, casting long shadows across the buildings below. Somewhere in a federal detention center, Richard Morrison was learning the hard truth about real business. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't the competition you can see, but the innovation you dismissed. As for me, I had a company to run, an industry to change, and a legacy to build. One that wouldn't be built on stolen dreams and buried secrets, but on true innovation and transparency. The junior developer position Richard had offered me would have paid $50,000 a year. Today, I signed a contract worth $50 billion. Sometimes success isn't about accepting the position you're offered. It's about creating the position you deserve. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't just about winning. It's about changing the entire game.